this is coming to you. This is Debbie. This is Debbie from Light Up Your Worth, and I'm so excited that you are listening and you're joining me today. I have just uh, been looking forward to sharing my new guest. She is this very delightful lady that I've met through a coaching program, and it's just been just a surreal experience when you meet somebody and you connect with them and their energy is just so lovely. She reminds me of when I am receiving a rose quartz energy. It's just very calming and beautiful, and she's just so delightful. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome on Jolena Stewart. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So excited. So we met, um, and I started cruising through all of your wonderful products. And I was on your website, and then I got stuck on which one did I want. And I thought, well, I really can't buy everything, but stumbled upon these really just delightful these particular soaps that I was so interested in. And so I wanted you to share, Jolena, like what it is that you provide us, and if you want to share more around that.
Yeah, so I'll just give a little backstory. So I've had eczema my entire life, and my brother also had it. And as a child, my eczema was mild, but his was severe. He actually had been hospitalized a few times because his eczema was so severe. It was debilitating. It took him out of school. It changed his mood and his willingness to be a kid. It did a lot of damage to him as a person, and it was hard to watch. Um, and then as I became an adult, it maintained its mildness. It reared its ugly head every now and again, but it was mostly manageable until I had kids. And then it went from mild to severe. And I had my first daughter. She started presenting with eczema so quickly. I mean, it was like weeks out of the womb, like maybe 4 or 6 weeks. And I knew that I had to do something different because whatever I was doing clearly wasn't working. And I was mostly just relying on my doctors and what they said and what they prescribed. And I did not stop and look at myself and say, oh, this isn't working. I just continued, and I'd go back and I'd say, okay, well, what else do you have? What else can I try? And I gave them all of my power. And my daughter, I looked at her and I knew that she deserved better. And so I took back my power. And I said, I'm not sure what the problem is because it feels like everything is a problem. So I got rid of everything. It really started this awesome uh, fun journey. It wasn't fun all the time, but it was a fun journey of just learning and discovery. And I started with a moisturizer. I said, okay, I did some Googling and it said, okay, well, olive oil is great. So I tried olive oil and that didn't work. I tried some other oils and I was like, that's better, but that didn't work. And I was like, okay, I need something thicker. So I started adding different butters in there. And I was like, okay, that's helpful, but I need this and I need that. So I started, really this like research journey. And I felt like a junior scientist because I was just like formulating all these things all of a sudden. And I was like, oh, there's an equation for this. And this is, this proportion works and that proportion doesn't work. And um, I just had so much fun, and I started buying more and more stuff. And then I was like, okay, well, I've got a lot of stuff here. What else can I do with these things? And so I started making soaps and lotions, and the list goes on and on. And eventually, candles, and there's all these different things that I started making from these base ingredients that I had, and most of them were literally, it started in my kitchen. It was literally what I had. It was things that I could buy from the grocery store. It was really cool to figure out like all the applications of food. Um, so yeah, that's how it started. It was a treatment, an alternative, not even a treatment, it was an alternative um, to some of the store-bought products that I felt like were contributing to our eczema and our struggles. And yeah, and just evolved into all these things. And my dad, he encouraged me very early. He was like, you have something amazing and you need to share it. So I did that, and the response was incredible. And over that time, not just from customers, but in looking at myself and looking at my daughter, I noticed how much healing had occurred. And it really just like firsthand gave me the knowledge and the understanding, the power of natural, the power of food, the power of just simplifying and not settling for what's handed to you and what everyone else says is um, what should be used and what should be done. Um, and yeah, that's how it all began.
Oh, I love what you said at the very beginning of this. You took back your power.
Yeah.
Oh, you can just feel that, right? Like just
Hmm.
standing in that. I took back my power, not only for myself, but for my family, for my children, and did what I needed to do to start playing and figuring it out. That's just so,
Yeah. Yeah.
so many people need to hear that message, right? Like we have that power to do that within ourselves, every single one of us. You don't have to
Yeah.
be a chemist. So, in
Yeah. And
taking
and I
back your
think that
power,
was the biggest lesson in it.
yeah, the
Sorry.
yeah, um, my internet got a little weird there for a second. Sorry about that, but
No, you're fine.
so what is so interesting is that, and we were talking before this, was that in this whole journey that you've been on, because Light Up Your Worth has been full of people who have gone through and overcome, and through that journey, they've come to this spiritual aspect of themselves that they are now healers, right? And what I just loved about your journey is, and I'd like for you to share, was that along this journey, how it intersects now with um, the spiritualness and where you are on that journey, if you wouldn't mind sharing that with us.
Yeah. So it's really funny how, and I don't tell this story very often, but I was just, rat race grind. I was born and raised in New York City, and there's like an energy about New York, it's just like relentless. You just go, 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 go. And that's how I had been. And my brother came to me a few times, and he was telling me that he had started making crystal jewelry. And I was like, that's great for you. And it was very dismissive. I had no experience with crystals or knowledge of crystals or anything. Um, and he was relentless. Like he would not stop. He just kept coming back. And it was almost like he knew that it was like going to be a doorway for something. Um, and at the time, I was just like, I don't have time to play with your little beads. Like, I don't, I'm not interested in that. And I think I mentioned to you before, I've never looked at myself as a creative person. And I kind of felt like it out me, like I don't want anyone to see that I don't have any imagination and I don't know how to string beads and I don't know how to make it look pretty. Like, I didn't know anything about it. And it was almost, intimidating. So I was really just not interested. And then he really just broke me down. And I was like, okay, show me your beads, show me your crystals. I'm ready. Let's go. I just, if nothing else, to just shut you up, I will do this with you. Um, and it was so intense. I could not put it down. I remember my fiance coming in the door one day, and I think he left for work. And he came back and he was like, seriously? you literally haven't moved from that spot since I left. And I didn't even realize that like a whole day had gone by. And I was just consumed. And I really found like, this was like the first time in my life I found a passion. Um, and then I remember because at first it was kind of just beads, you know, it's just like, wow, this is so pretty. Wow, this is so nice. This is so cool. And I think, that was my first real creative outlet. So I had so much energy to pour into it. And then my brother started telling me about the properties of crystals, and I was like, "What? No, no. This is protective? Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean it has energy? What do you mean it has a frequency? I don't get it. I don't understand." And me being like, very type A, I went and bought like 5 books on crystals, and I had like 3 audiobooks, and I was just like, it was really becoming an obsession. And I was just buying and buying and buying, and it was becoming an issue. Anyway, there was this one book in particular that I bought, and that was like the key to the door, because it had, most of it was about crystals, but then on the back, it was kind of like this mini encyclopedia, and it had like alternative, um, I don't know how, energy healing methods. And it went from crystals to herbs to essential oils to like healing practices like singing bowls and all these things. And I like, it was like an explosion. I was like, oh my God. Essential oils. What is an essential oil? How is this possible that plants can do this? And this is a cleaner? Is this why everything is lemon scented? Like what? And it blew my mind. Like I didn't have any educational background with this knowledge. It was just like, why didn't I learn this in school? And why did no one tell me before? Like, why is it that, I could buy a diffuser and help shift my mood, and people want to just hand you like mood stabilizers and antidepressants when I can just like sniff some things? Like, I don't understand. It was, um, it was really almost like frustrating and infuriating. Like, why did no one tell me this? Um, so that's where it started. And this was when I was on my journey with my skincare with my daughter. And I was like, oh my God, I can put these essential oils in my creams. That's going to boost the healing power like tenfold. And oh my gosh, I can put this in soap. Like, what? So it really started with crystals, and that crystal journey intersected with my like eczema healing journey. And then I was able to fuse it and discovered so much, and I was just mind blown. Just, and I just started creating, some of those herbs that I discovered in that book. I was like, okay, I'm gonna put this in my skincare. I'm gonna make this from that, and I'm gonna make that from that, and I'm gonna do this with this. And it was enlightening. Like it was transformative.
Yeah, and you can see it, right? Like for those who are going to watch this later on YouTube too, like your whole body, your whole energy just lit up. Like completely lit up. Like your whole vibe just like it was already high and now it's just like expansion of your love for this and how that love shows through with when you're making these beautiful potions really of healing
Yeah, yeah,
and the
yeah,
love that goes into it. And so now that you were that like that gateway where you're finding like fine, let me learn about this, right? So if
yeah.
somebody's listening now and they're like, well, I've kind of dabbled here, not real sure here. What would you suggest to them?
Oh, honestly, there is this thing that my dad told me when I first started um, getting ready to sell things. He was, like I said, he encouraged me to turn this into a business and share my products. And I remember the first time I was going out and I was like, okay, well, I got my stuff. I got it packaged and labeled and ready to go. And I guess I'll just see how it goes. And, then I'll decide if I want to do it again. And he like stopped me right there. And he was like, Monday has no bearing on Tuesday. And you don't know how you're going to do today, but that doesn't have to impact tomorrow. Don't let today destroy your ideas of what's possible for tomorrow. And I really took that to heart with so many things. And I think the issue with natural things, with especially with skincare, but any type of like energy work or um, things that are not conventional knowledge, is that if it doesn't work immediately and if we don't see the results right away, we're quick to dismiss it. And I would encourage everyone to just be mindful that Monday has no bearing on Tuesday. You have the ability to restart and refresh and to continue on the same journey. And I don't think that minor setbacks should be your indicator to stop and turn tail. And it's been major for me to just absorb that and just be like, okay, we had one fight, we don't have to break up. Like you sometimes I'll use something and I'll just be like, oh, I really had all these expectations that this was going to clear this up like immediately, and it didn't do it. And it's been 2 days, and gosh, how am I going to sell this? And then a week later, I'm like, oh my God, it's gone. Oh. And it's because of that persistence. Sometimes you really just have to I feel like the thing with natural is it penetrates. It goes down deep to the core, and then it works its way out. So it's not always immediate, but you have to have the patience to allow things to do its work. Like, you don't go and throw a seed in the dirt and then expect a plant to pop up tomorrow. And I just feel like this is the natural way. You have to allow yourself to sow a seed and let it grow, and not to lose joy or courage or anything in the process of allowing things to blossom. So that would be my advice to anyone who's, on any stage of the journey. Give it a minute. Give it some time. Yeah.
Yeah, because energy has to intersect. It took us how long to get to where we are now,
Right.
whatever pain we might be feeling or experience. I love that analogy that you used. We had one fight and we're breaking up.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, because and along your journey, right? Like you might have discovered that you love crystals, but maybe you went and you tried like yeah, sound healing, right? And you're like, yeah, that's nice, but it's nice, right? But maybe it's
Yeah.
not my thing. Or maybe
Yeah.
I went and tried some type of energy work and one of them resonated more than the other. That doesn't mean I give them all up, right?
Oh, I have
I
this
just,
really funny story. And this is not the perfect example, but it's just reflective of the mindset. So back in the day, I used to be obsessed with Groupon. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And I saw there was like this local Reiki healer, and I was like, oh, okay, let me try that, because I was on this spiritual journey and trying all these energy healing things. And so I went there and I was so excited. And then um, now thinking of that healer, he was in tune. Like, he could read me like a book from the second I walked through the door. And I remember just kind of like laying on the table, like, what's going on? This is really weird. What did I spend my money on? Even though it was on sale, it's like, I don't know. And I remember there were only a couple points where I actually felt anything. I think it was really weird. He was by my shins. My eyes were closed, but I can feel him by my shins. And I felt like this weird tingling and like heat and pulling. It's like, that's weird. And oh yeah, and then he was above my stomach, and I'm like, maybe I just ate something funny. Like, that's really weird. Really weird. And then I walked out the door after it was over, and I was like, wow, that was was a waste of my money. Like I felt nothing. Like, okay, maybe he did a little energy work on my shins, but I could have gone without that. And I think I reached the end of the block before I started wailing like a maniac. Like it was just like, and I mean full on ugly cry. I was wailing like I've never done before in the street of New York City. I mean, there are people walking by like, mother crazy, it's fine. But I had no idea what was going on. I was like, oh my God, it's finally happened. I've cracked. I've finally lost it. And I couldn't, I didn't, there was like, there's nothing wrong. I just came from this thing. And I mean, I was disappointed, but I was not upset. Like, why am I in my mind right now? Why am I like inconsolable? And I don't remember who it was, but I remember picking up the phone and calling them. And they're like, what is happening? What's going on? And I couldn't even speak. I was just like boo-hooing. Anyway, I go and I speak to one of my best friends, and she's a masseuse, but she's one of the most tuned in people I know. She's very, very spiritual without even trying. And she was like, oh, that was just an energy release. And I was like, what? What? And she was like, yeah, you store emotions in your body, you store feelings in your muscles. And she's like, when I massage people, they cry all the time. There's all types of weird things that happen in those sessions, and it's because you store energy in your body. And I was like, oh my God. Oh, and I was like, oh, that makes sense, because I wasn't upset or anything, but I was just like releasing this stuff, and I couldn't, it's like throwing up. It's like I didn't know I was sick. It was just coming out. um, but yeah, I was so quick to dismiss that miracle man's work. And then I just showed up, and that was just like the proof in the pudding. Like, okay, this energy stuff is real.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a beautiful story. Beautiful story of
Thank you.
release. Like we don't even realize that our bodies are storing so much of the stuff that we've survived. I know you listened to the podcast where I talked with Tammy, right? Who I
Mhm.
had on recently, and she was talking about this, the life experiences that she had, and she had been asked, was it harder to live through that or to write about it afterwards? And it was much harder reliving it because when we're going through it, we just giddy up, right? Like we just
Yeah.
pull up our big girl pants and we just get on with it. And then when we pause, we don't realize that we've accumulated all of that in our physical body. And
I will say something about that real quick. And the reason why that is for some people is because when we go through experiences, we don't go through them. We shut down emotionally, we turn off, and we compartmentalize. We're not experiencing it emotionally, we're just physically getting through it. And at some point, it will come back to you. But if you are present in the thing that is happening, you don't have that experience after the fact. It's easy and it's fine to talk about. You're not reliving it anymore because you already lived it. So I think that's like the key in life, is like presence and mindfulness. Like, am I really experiencing this moment for what it is? Or am I just like watching it as an outsider to have to relive it later?
oh, that's pretty profound. Something everybody we can all ask as we're
Yeah.
as we're walking through our day, right? Like am I present now, or am I just getting through this moment?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Because
a survival method, it's we think or we feel like we're not strong enough to get through it. So we try to hide the vulnerable part because we're afraid that we won't survive it. And then at some point you realize I'm strong enough to handle anything. And that's when you can like go back and relive those things. And that's when you can be mindful in the present moment and accept the gifts that were given all throughout the day and all throughout life. Um, it's but it's a process, and you can't judge yourself or anyone else for going through their process. And that's that's a learning experience.
It is. That is a lot of wisdom coming from and through you that you're
Thank
sharing.
you.
I know we had talked about how you are really um, coaching people through this journey of not only taking care of themselves with the eczema, but the mental process that it goes through, not just the physical. And I just seems that how powerful that is that somebody would be able to connect with you at this much deeper level than here, just go try this. And that's it. But having this whole complete package of a holistic view, knowing that everything that you're making is with this intent, with this energetic love that you're sending through for people not to feel pain and to be able to be present to it. So how how are you helping women with your coaching through this? You want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I realized a long time ago through my journey and getting myself through and my children, um, and various customers, that it's not enough to just treat things topically, and this is both literally and metaphorically. There's so much under the surface, and I truly believe that eczema is a manifestation of emotional things, and it could be generational trauma. It could be, just our own internal baggage that we have pushed down and have not fully managed and dealt with. But there is an energy to it, and its energy affects matter. And when you try to use matter to affect matter, you don't get to the cause of it. And so my work is really driven towards pulling you out of the matter and pulling you into the energy of it. And I don't completely dismiss the matter, that's a part of it. But I really want to look at people holistically. You're not just a physical body, you're an energy being having a physical experience. So I should be helping you navigate as an energy body going through a physical experience. So it's a lot of mindset work. It's a lot of, I'm going to share a quick story. So whenever I'm having, or this was in the past before, whenever I used to have a tough day, food is the way to my heart.
Mine
Food is
too.
my love language. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, there's some very few people who, like, off the bat I met them and they were like, oh, let's go get something to eat. I'm like, oh my God, you're my soulmate. It's like, it's like, because food is true. It's like, it's my love language for sure. Um, so whenever I used to have a hard day, I used to treat myself to whatever it is that I wanted. It could be bad for me, it could be great for me, but it was an indulgent moment. It's like I feel not great and I want to feel great. So I'm gonna eat something that makes me feel good, or that makes me feel indulgent. It makes me feel like I'm treating myself. I'm giving myself something I deserve in this moment when I need that extra love and attention. And it could be my last dollar. I was spending it shamelessly on myself. And then I had an epiphany. And it was like, I know you've had those moments when a voice very clearly speaks to you. And I'm like literally like pulling into the drive-through. And the voice very clearly said, you're not treating yourself by spending your last dollar on something that's not good for you. And it was like a dagger in my heart. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
like, okay, I guess I'll go home. So I think that a lot of times we have these ideas about how we treat ourselves, and it's not realistic. It's very imaginative. You know what I mean? It's like, you do what's comfortable and what's easy because you think that it's going to make you feel good. And that's not always the case. So my work is to kind of make you aware of those things that you're doing. You think it makes you feel good, but does it? Like I have this with my daughter and she's like, well, I want ice cream. And I'm like, okay, well, you're a big girl. Are you going to be itching later if you eat this? And she's like, well, yeah. Are you going to feel good after you eat this? No. Do you really want the ice cream? No. You know what I mean? And it's motherhood that's kind of taught me, one, how to mother myself, but kind of how to mother other people too. It's like, we got to break this down and make it really simple. What do you want? Do you want to feel good? Okay. Well, you figured out a lot of things that don't make you feel good. So let's stay away from those things. And let's start pouring into yourself the things that feel good. If you are constantly tearing yourself down and saying that you're not worthy and you're not pretty and you're not this, that doesn't make you feel good. And it doesn't make you do healthy, smart things. When you tear yourself down, you're not whole. And then you look at yourself and you see all the things that are not whole. But if you shift your mindset and you look at yourself for who you really are, the miraculous being that you are, and you just think about some of the science of it, like what are the chances that that sperm, that egg, and this energy being like transcended and went through portals to come through to this dimension, and like all the things that came to make you into a person, how could you not be spectacular? How could you not be whole? So maybe this is just a lesson. What do you need to learn in this lesson? What do you need to do? And I just want to, my goal is to shift perspective and to open people's eyes and to make them feel the love that they know they want and deserve, and just open their eyes to the thing that's already in front of them, the thing that they already have. So I have a few different tricks up my sleeve to get to that, to get to those things. But it's a lot of just very slow eye opening, like just, yeah, there's magic there. Can you feel it?
Yes.
Maybe you're focusing on some other things. Maybe it's there and you just need to focus in the right place. Maybe your focus is diverted to something else. Let's bring it back where it needs to be. So yeah, that's
Oh,
that's a little of what I do.
that was a beautiful story. I loved that whole journey. And how can you not be spectacular?
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's uh I think I mentioned it before. My journey is just like a big unlearning process, like it just you're I had this moment, it was like maybe a week ago, where I sat back and I really started thinking about my childhood and all the intuitive knowledge that I had, and I just forgot about it. And I was like, oh my God, I was like speaking to spirits. I was like talking to myself, and I was learning words. Like I remember being like 5. And I remember the day I was in the back of my mother's coworker's car, and I was having this spiritual conversation about nirvana. I grew up in a Christian household. That was not a word that was said. So it's just like all these different things that that happen to you that like makes you forget, or makes you, it pulls your attention away. So I'm still peeling back those layers, like, oh my gosh, this is what's in there, and this is who I am, and this is what I can do, and this is what I can give, and this is what I can offer. um, but just like a side note, like you really can't help others until you help yourself. You really have to just like do the inner work and find out where your light lies, and just like uncover it. And you can't, I used to think that the best way to make people feel good, because I'm a people pleaser, was to dim my light so their light looked brighter, right? But then I realized that the best way to make people feel good is to shine my light, is to share it, because then it just illuminates and it warms people up and they get these like warm bubbly feelings. And they're like, oh my God, this is great. This is fun. I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
that's my
yes.
light. That's me. That's me. I'm making you feel good. You know?
Hence the name of the podcast, right? Like light up your worth. It's
There
it's
you go.
it's metaphoric two ways, right? Like a
Yes,
light, like shine
yes,
your light. And
yes,
light up your worth is metaphoric of your own value, your own illustration. Stop dimming your light
yes, yes.
so that
And
others feel better. And because
yeah,
then you start attracting, I talk about it, but once you're open to it, you will bring in people who into your life who you can have these conversations with
you
about.
mean like you?
Yes, right? Like and how we met, and I would have never been been brave, right? For some people it's harder than other people, or maybe you don't want to be seen as, oh, like what's going on there?
Yes,
And
yes,
but
yes,
yet once you own that and once you start feeling comfortable with it and you meet more people, you're like, we are not alone. There
yeah,
are so many light beings, and if we all shine our light and help each other out and make it safe to have these conversations, that it's just better for you, me, it's better for our communities. It brings more light, more love,
yes,
more healing, and
yes,
this beautiful, you know, global experience that we have here. And it's this experience itself and been able to connect it and see our world from a different perspective. And
yeah,
oh, this has just been so, so delightful. Oh my
yes, it has.
gosh.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh my
This
gosh.
was such a treat.
Seeing your magnificence just
Oh,
burst through the light, right? Like they're hearing the audio of it, but on the video of this, it's like your light has you're just glowing and glowing,
oh,
and your whole aura is just expanded into the whole room that you're in. It's just, I
thank you.
so I'm just so blessed to have, welcome you into being one of my friends and sharing your journey with those who are, listening, and they're like, well, I don't know, like, what is this? And maybe they're curious and knowing that we all come from this from a different perspective, right? Like, we met and I went looking and it was on soaps, right? But it's so much more than soap. It's this
Yeah.
joy that comes through what comes into it and helping people find that and then discover themselves in this process. So thank you so, so much for joining me.
No, thank you.
And now if people listening want to reach out to you, we're going to include it in the show notes, but how can they reach you, hon?
So I feel like I'm everywhere. But everywhere that I am, it's Love Energy Nature. That's the name of my company. So my website is loveenergynature.com. My Instagram is Love Energy Nature. And my Facebook is Love Energy Nature.
Oh, Love Energy Nature.
Love
It's got
Energy Nature.
nature. Oh, see,
Yeah.
doesn't that just all encompass it, the love that comes through this? So,
Yeah.
oh, thank you so much. My heart is so
Thank
warm
you.
from this.
Thank
So,
you.
thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you on the next episode, guys. Keep listening. We got more.